Introduction of vague field substance space woken up from the empty space, March 4, 2018, by Hikima Workshop. Fireball, all logic is broken at that moment in the Big Bang theory of the universe. It is not possible to theorize the occurrence of none, so we will name the area of the universe's container the vague field and proceed. Movie is a behavior experiment of polka dots in a zero-gravity space. The polka dots vibrate three-dimensionally. If this polka dot is the whole picture of the universe, our universe will be in the expanding area. However, the swollen area of this polka dots is also thought to be a totally different thing in the area which was previously contracted. And this first point of the moment of converting from this contraction to expansion is considered a quiet Big Bang turning direction without singular point. From this contraction to the expansion instead of expansion starts from one point but gradually increases, so the substance space also increases and it expands. In other words, the area of zero behavior becomes the universe expanding while acquiring inflation energy and reorganizing into the expanding universe. For the first time here I was able to write the structure principle of the Big Bang as sentences. The world of inflation principle begins in the area which expands in the motion which rises and depresses like a polka dots floating in the space. And this world is maintained from the curiosity of light speed, gravity, mass, time. There is an intermediate zero state when turning from expansion to contraction. In the zero state the principle of light velocity, gravitational mass, time disappears. I think that the universe will be dark at this point. In this way the universe will contract and I think that the light velocity, gravitational mass, time will work in the opposite direction. Characteristics of the quiet Big Bang theory which has no singular point to the cosmology theory which has been built up until now. 1. It is unnecessary to think that the substance was condensed to one point at the start of the Big Bang. 2. There is no need to think that the expanding universe was started by the explosion. 3. There is no need to question the observation that acceleration is expanding. This will acknowledge the ether of a new concept. But the existence of ether is a basic thing that makes up the container of the universe, not in our space-time space. It is thought that our spatio-temporal space was born in the expanding area of the universe filled with this ether 13.8 billion years ago. Vague field is a space that is changing as it is all. Here, the expansion region, the contraction region, and the almost stop region coexist. These are dominated by the law of inertia. I believe that these three spaces are connected seamlessly and the conditions of the space change seamlessly. In the expansion space our cosmic principle is working, but in shrinking space light comes from the sky toward the observer. Therefore the universe is a pure white space and the sun and the stars are shining black. Gravity acts as a repulsive force between substances and maintains separation of stars even in a space that contracts. Since mass and time have no direction, it is considered to work similarly. Start of contraction, accelerated contraction, maximum velocity of contraction, decelerating contraction, end of contraction. Then, vague field motion transforms the spatial principle. Start of expansion, accelerated expansion, maximum speed of expansion, decelerating expansion, end of expansion. If the behavior of the vague field is a sinusoidal wave, the reason why accelerated expansion is observed is that the expanding universe is still young. Discovery of accelerated expansion is the Nobel Prize in Physics of 2011. With this, light speed, gravity, mass, time, and the cause of space expansion, which was the last difficult problem, could be explained unifiedly. Our universe exists in a part of the vague field. But the physical principle is not inherent to our universe, but it is governed by the law of inertia common to the whole universe. What is the substance of vague field? At the end of inflation, the inflation pressure will be zero, but gravity will also be zero so that electrons will not fall into the nucleus. It is, so to speak, a frozen atom. And even if this frozen atom is very inactive, it will not change in space even after several billion years. In my cosmology, the space that does not expand will be an absolute zero-degree world. We believe that there is neither light speed nor gravity in the inflatable space, no internal pressure supporting the atomic space nor time flow. After that, the activity of the atom restarts under the expansion pressure or the contraction pressure. This state is the beginning of a new universe. As you can see, there is no big change in the material placement of the vague field. I feel that the control to maintain the size and order of the vague field is working, keeping the uniformly dispersed form without substances being solidified by gravity. Since the space scale and the time scale of the vague field are beyond our observable space, you can understand as an image if you think that 13.8 billion years time and space is included in a small movement. Vague field stabilizer. In the vague field, if the expansion of space expands quickly, it can be thought that gravity works strongly and works slow when we are slow. If the expansion expands quickly, the force of gravity becomes stronger and the power to summarize the universe becomes stronger. If the expansion of the space is slow, the gravity will become weak and the galaxy will not settle down due to gravity. Similarly, if the contraction of the space is fast, the repulsive force becomes strong. And if the contraction slows down, the repulsive force becomes weak, so it is considered that there is no worry that the substance will diffuse due to the repulsive force. In the expanding universe, substances accumulate due to gravity and the huge star makes heavy atoms by supernova. On the other hand, in shrinking universe, the substance decomposes by repulsive force and becomes a light atom. It is thought that the substance is swaying in the universe, which repeats expansion and contraction. Scale feeling of vague field. I think that our universe on a small part of a huge vague field is like an ant on the back of an elephant. I think that it looks like a flat and uniform field for ants. Also, our 138-year-old time is condensed in the momentary movement of the vague field. The elephant's walk seems slow, I feel the rat's quickly, but if you measure the speed it will not change much. Also, since heart rate of small animals is fast, heart rate of large animals is slow, body time is decided by heart rate. So elephants and rats live their time in lifetime. Time length is the same, you will feel it. Transformation of smooth principle. This world started not from a big bang but a quiet principle. In the first place, it is inevitable in the four-dimensional world that space cannot be stabilized unless shrinkage and expansion coexist in four-dimensional space. In other words, the spatial principle that the shrinking universe where the expanding universe diverges will condense is contradictory. The four-dimensional space vague field is the space where the expansion region and the contraction region are held while maintaining balance. The universe that started in a part of the expansion region, and this is our expanding universe. It seems, besides thinking that the four-dimensional space vague field is eternity. Summary of opinion. Cosmology. The light speed and time is force as a visualization of the photon on the expansion of the space, and the plaque of the expansion rate of the substance and its surroundings. Consider the gravity as the distortion of the space, and the total amount of distortion of the space created by the substance is mass. Time is also the energy expanding space, thereby creating a four-dimensional space-time. This four-dimensional spacetime is the subject of this cosmology. We think that light speed will run very quickly, but this is the expansion of the universe itself, not as a speed relative to the space of the particle. I feel that the speed of light exists because we are staying in the expanding space rather than moving light. The four-dimensional spacetime expanding in the space surrounding this real universe is recognized by us as light velocity gravitational mass time. This sight that we can observe is like the history chronology written from the Big Bang as a starting point to the continuous time axis to the observation point. In each era, the light that went to the Earth traveled through the expanding universe and is now reaching Cause of the light speed. Photons separated from the light source in the space expanding at the light speed seem to diffuse at the light speed as seen from the observer as it is directly affected by the expansion. Cause of gravity. Expansion of the space is continuous from the inside of the substance to the outer space. Expansion speed changes in the inside of the material. This is observed as gravity bias as acceleration of the space. Cause of mass. If it is assumed that the derivative of the curvature of the space created by the substance is gravity, the integrated mass is considered to be the mass of the substance. Cause of time. Since space expansion and time flow are the same, c t equals 1. We are felt that change of space and energy due to expansion is a flow of time. Dynamic coordinate system. Substances are constantly left out of space expansion. This marginal energy is the gravitational mass time. Light speed. The gravity mass time can be explained by expansion of space together with the physics problem. It constitutes a space's energy that the dynamic movement of space itself cannot be seen. Cause of spatial expansion. There is a contracted region and an expanded region in the raised and depressed movement of the vague field floating in the space. Part of the expansion area of this vague field is our expanding universe. In this theory of cosmology, I define the container of the universe vague field by defining infinitely sized containers. We have proposed a quiet Big Bang theory at the beginning of the universe which does not have singularity and does not fail logic. When thinking with things organized, the natural world is very simple. When I began writing cosmological theory, I received a feeling of entering a vast unknown area. However, I noticed that there are very few known principles. As a result of organizing and rebuilding these, we were able to induce a simple and clear result which is unexpected. What philosophy and religion do people create if this world realizes it is simple? While I wrote this page, I read the topic on cosmology, but many are converging to the spirit world. Every intellectual action is guided by an intentionally made labyrinth. This cosmology is derived from known knowledge excluding fiction. The cosmology of hobby departing from the cause of the light speed time is force reached a quiet Big Bang theory which finally has no singularity, celebrating 10 years, and was able to explain the cause of the light velocity, gravity, mass time, and the spatial expansion in an integrated manner. We have reached the point of view to consider the whole picture of the universe from the space-time region of the past. Thank you very much for your viewing until the end.